Okay, we are live. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. As you join, please say hello and let us know where you're coming in from. Um, Coach Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Uh,
Keto.
Awesome.
What's that? Ketovore.
Ketovore Cass.
Yes, yeah.
Ketovore
Just
Cass.
saying, oh bum, I'm at work on my tea break, so we'll miss it. Oh dear. Oh,
Mm,
sorry about that.
sorry
I'm
about that,
doing well.
Cass. Yeah.
Doing.
H-
Yeah.
How was your week?
Well, it's been really interesting because myself and Lee Copus are
Mm.
going to be featured on a BBC documentary, I believe,
Oh,
about
wow.
yeah. What? Yes, BBC. Now, I don't trust the BBC. And they're notorious not just for one particular thing they've done recently. They're always lying. I mean, they've lied for as long as I can remember about many things. I've been
Oh.
at things that I've seen live and then watched the report from the BBC. One particular thing happened in London, and they didn't report what happened. They
Mm.
reported what they wanted to report. Anyway, they're doing a thing about the carnivore diet and health and stuff. This like a 30-minute program. So Lee and
Wow.
myself are doing a mini meetup, and they're going to come and record it. And that, I think it's Oscar Wilde who said there's no such thing as bad publicity. I'm
Right.
going into it knowing that it won't be great, which is me being polite. And there's going to be two doctors apparently, commenting on the footage.
Mm.
Well, there was a thing that's just been done by the BBC Studios, which was Nutrition Science, hosted by Brian Cox, who's you know not exactly the smartest tool in the toolbox, and their panel of experts knew nothing about nutrition. They said what their favourite food was. You went around the panel. There wasn't one person that eats meat. I think there was five people, four of them females. I think most of them vegans, or at least believing the plant based way of eating is the best way. There was no one there that was talking about meat. Not one person. They
Mm.
didn't do any actual science. It was just all opinion. So we're expecting more of the same. But I just feel if we can get some of the good message out there, the real life experience of people, then we'll go.
Mm.
I'm going in with my eyes open. So's Lee,
Mm.
and we'll do our talk that they're going to film. Obviously, not use all of it, but maybe a little bit of it. And it's just
Mm.
a little 15-minute talk to a small group of people. Yes, it is a trap, without a shadow of a doubt. But
Mm.
if we don't do it, someone else will, and they will possibly go in without their eyes open.
Mm.
Uh, trust them,
Mm.
be suckered into thinking that they're all good and they want to make you look great. We won't be doing that at all. We know that it's they say it's not going to be a hit piece, but what can I say? So
Yeah.
we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
I mean, I think it's actually really, I think it's actually really, really good. And I think it will be probably, it'll be a hit piece to some degree.
Yeah.
But I think, as you say, any publicity is good publicity.
Yes.
And it kind of reminds me of how long ago would it have been? 25 years ago when I first
Mm.
heard about Atkins. And every day there was a news story about it. And the news stories were always a 2-minute interview with someone who was doing Atkins, and
Yeah.
then some furrow-browed university professors sitting around talking about how the person was on their way to an early grave and all that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so it was just hit job after hit job because it drove clicks or it drove views, right?
Mm.
But the whole thing was it pushed it more out into the public consciousness and people were more aware of it, and more people go, well, nothing else I've tried to do has worked. Maybe this might work. I might give
Yeah.
this a try.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you've got to fight through the storm just to get the word out there.
Mm. Yes.
Mm.
Absolutely. I mean, they can't be completely negative, but the thing is, what already has given me a red flag is we're not allowed to know who the doctors are. But I guarantee the doctors won't like it. I mean, absolutely guarantee it.
Right.
So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just there's just no incentive for them to like it, right?
Yeah. But let's give it a go. We're going to do it.
Yeah. So we got a question already from Steve Foster.
Hello, Steve Foster.
Does coffee tank magnesium levels? I'm 100% carnivore except for coffee with double cream, and Vivu urine test consistently shows low magnesium.
Right. That's a good question. Well, yes, in short, I don't like the word tank because that is sort of a pejorative term that makes it sound like it's plummeting. Yes, caffeine, tannins, they do prevent a little bit of absorption. So it's a real impact, but it is actually modest. I'd be interested in seeing the urine test across the board, actually, rather than just looking at magnesium. In fact, when they did a study on absorption of calcium, for instance, I know it's not magnesium, but it's the same thing. The negative effect in the study, they were able to offset with 2 tablespoons of milk. So afterwards, yeah. So so you had your coffee, they did measurements of the calcium, and then the person had 2 tablespoons of milk, and then they took the levels and it boosted straight back up. So yeah, obviously the frequency of the coffee, if it's freshly ground, whether it's instant, all makes a difference. But as soon as you eat again, you should be boosting it back up. So I would say it's probably, yes, it's true, but maybe you're a 6 cups a man, 6 cups a day man, and you know that would be problematic, I suppose, because you're constantly hitting that magnesium with this binding agent. But yeah, I think it is a modest effect. But coffee, I'm so glad I've taken it out, to be honest. I do feel better without caffeine, and I even used to do Swiss water decaf. And I think if you're doing well with it and you feel good, this is where numbers annoy me as well, because you shouldn't be led by numbers. You should be led by how you feel, how you're acting. And then, sorry to go a little bit deeper on this, Dave, because it seems like a simple question, but what would happen if you take the coffee out? What are you going to replace it with? Because that might actually be worse. See,
that's my problem.
yeah, exactly. You know, so it's a net benefit thing. So that what I would say is, if you're feeling great, I wouldn't worry about number too much.
Do you, regarding magnesium, if someone was going to supplement, do you know much about the different types of magnesium as far as which one would be more readily absorbed?
Well, magnesium, any sort of oxide thing is not worth having, but well, it depends what you want it for, to be honest. But I wouldn't think you need to supplement on this way of eating, to be honest, on the magnesium.
Okay, right. Okay, is that assuming you're doing grass fed, or do you just
no? If you're eating meat, eggs, if you want a little bit of dairy, I think you'd be all right, to be honest.
Okay, but if you're a chronic coffee drinker, if you are having those 6 cups a day, it might be necessary. I mean, that's definitely my.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes. Well, yeah. Wouldn't it be better to take the coffee out?
But then, what do I replace it with?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I firstly, I would go back to how are you feeling and not worrying about the number. All right. If you're if you want to use a magnesium citrate, that probably would be the most bioavailable for the body, most absorbed.
Right.
I wouldn't do magnesium oxide, like I said. I think I said that. Magnesium sulfate, I wouldn't use. Magnesium biglycinate is quite good. Glycinate is good, but I think citrate is the best one.
Right. Thank you. Okay, question from Mr. Beaumont. Are fasting windows that useful on carnivore if a 0-carb diet produces a fasting mimicking state anyway?
Well, yeah, fasting is absolutely super beneficial. I hate that expression, super beneficial, but that's what us young kids say now. Fasting is not eating. That's basically it. If you are mimicking fasting, you will definitely shut down things like the migratory motor complex that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, which is a thing. It's a protein that stimulates peristalsis and the cleanup of debris in your small intestine after about 4 hours of not eating anything. You can have water, but that's it. Anything that comes into your system will stop that happening. So it happens overnight. You probably get 2 cycles of it because you need, a 4 hour, 4 hours at least where your stomach is empty. So if you eat anything, you knock that on the head. Now, again, I'm going to keep saying this. If you're doing fasting, mimicking and feeling it's working for you, and you've got the right body composition and you feel great and you're sleeping okay, maybe you don't need to fast. If you're super lean already, you probably don't need to fast unless you're doing it for a therapeutic reason. But if you are doing fasting for therapeutics or body composition, nothing beats actually fasting, because you will get into deeper levels of autophagy. You will get more fat burning going up. Your insulin levels will get lower. It's all of it is really simple. Fasting mimicking will give you some of the benefits without having to fast, hence its name. But those benefits are dialed down. If I want to do something optimal, if I want to change my body composition, I would fast. And I would probably do like a 3-day water fast, and that'd be great. But fasting windows are useful. That's the question. So let's answer the actual question. Are fasting windows that useful on carnivore if the zero carb diet produces a fasting mimicking state? Anyway, yes, fasting windows are useful. Absolutely. On top of what you're doing already, which is, very low systemic inflammation, perfect amino acid spread, getting all the 9 essential amino acids, getting all the essential fats that you get into your system. Yeah, that's great anyway. Obviously, you're not eliciting a huge insulin spike, I suppose. So this way is good, but fasting is actually better.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Beaumont. And Pokwa, thank you very much for your super sticker. And I believe you have a question just below, so I'll bring that up. I appreciate all your help, guys. I have a question. I know calories don't count, but and don't put a video out about that if you don't want the backlash in the comments. But how much should a 46-year-old woman be consuming a day to maintain good health whilst trying to lose weight?
How tall are you? How active are you? You see, this is where the calories thing falls down completely and utterly. What's your current body composition? Where do you want to be? Do you want to gain weight, lose weight? Or body fat probably would be a better thing to talk about. You need to eat enough food in the right quantity for you to sustain the level of fitness that you want to be at. I'm sorry, I just can't answer the question in a calories sort of way, because let's go really silly. Let's say I said 1,800 calories. Right, what are you going to do? 1,800 calories of donuts? No, because that's going to give you a completely different result to 1,800 calories of salmon. So we do also need to see your sort of macro breakdown. I really can't answer it. Because I think we need to go with hunger, intuitive eating, and also going with how full you feel. Because that's the way we're hardwired to act, is to work to our hunger and to our satiety signals. If you look in the wild, every animal that lives in the wild and is not impacted by humans, they don't need to do that. Everything's finely balanced and they're just right. Lions are just right. Gazelles are just right. Giraffes are just right. Hippos are just right.
They all look the same.
Yes.
If they're meant to be fat, they're all fat. If they're meant to be thin and muscular, they're all thin and muscular. And,
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen a hippo on a diet.
There's no anorexic hippos out there.
No. I mean, every single animal looks the same, doesn't it? All penguins look the same because, look at the harsh realities of their life. But they find a way to end up where they should be. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. From Agent 99. How much does homogenization of cow's milk affect its quality?
Well, a lot, a huge amount. So when I was big on dairy, I not literally big on dairy. When I was having a lot of dairy, I would definitely go to something that's unhomogenized. So it's not being forced, basically this is where the dairy is forced through very small holes under high pressure, and it breaks up the fat globules and it makes it all uniform. And also you have it from different animals. When you go for unhomogenized, which is, a lot of the time just from one animal, wow, the difference is incredible to the way you absorb it, how you feel. The taste is incredibly different. So I would try to get away from homogenized if you could.
Quick, important note and reminder here from Aid. Humans, smart enough to make their own food and dumb enough to eat it.
Yes. I saw a little tweak on that one, which was we spray our food with poisons to stop animals eating it, and then we eat it.
That'll keep them away. Oh, yum. From Carnivore Jerry. Thoughts on homemade magnesium oil spray to spray on legs during the night? Thank you.
Well, again, I mean, I actually quite like the magnesium sprays that are off the counter because they definitely work. Like that. Homemade, if you make it yourself, you're doing the same thing, aren't you? So if you're getting the benefits, most people spray it on their legs to relieve cramp. Soles of your feet are particularly good, which many people don't do. But yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, Carnivore Jerry. Okay. Do we have what's this? Wow.
Well, it's the same question.
Same
Shall I give
question.
the same answer?
Brendan Griggleston. Hello from Bunyip, Victoria. That's down my way. Normal 16 hours fasted. Leads 5 days a week. Very rarely have feelings of hunger. It's amazing once you do start fasting. It's not even the fasting just happens naturally, really, right? But it's amazing once you get into that state where you can go and expend extended amount of time without eating and feel awesome and not have your stomach rumbling and be focused and be able to just work or enjoy your time or do whatever you want without that constant food noise. It's fantastic. Yeah. Okie doke. Do we have any more questions here? Bum, bum, bum. I don't think we got. Okay. Oh, okay. So, Pokwa. I didn't want the answer in calories actually, but it seems there can be an issue of under eating on carnivore.
Ah, right. Okay. Sorry, because I think the question had that in it, didn't it, about calories? So that's good. Right. So if you are, I think they've put their details up as well, actually, their height and everything in another question.
Okay. Hang on one second. Okay. I want to lose weight, about 10 pounds. I'm about 164 centimeters and fairly active.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the rule of thumb is if you take your ideal body weight, the weight you want to be, and if you're doing it in pounds, I mean, this is so simple, really, to be honest. If you want to be, 140 pounds, you would have you would eat 140 grams of protein and 140 grams of fat, because it is literally 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight that you want to be. It's a very good rule of thumb. And if you're doing it in kilograms, just for people, it's about 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you wanted to be 100 kilograms, you would eat 220 grams of protein and fat. And how do you work that out? Well, the mass of food is what what I would say is you need to look at. So if you look at a chunk of steak, I haven't got a model of it, but if you've got a big chunk of steak and it's 500 grams, now let's say 400, just make sums easy. So that weighs 400 grams, your ribeye. Well, 100 grams of that is protein. Just roughly about a quarter of whatever the food weighs is going to be protein if you talk about meat. So yeah, I would do that. I would look at the weight you want to be, not the weight you are, the weight you want to be, and eat to that. So 1 gram per pound of body weight you want to be for protein and also for fat. Simple as that. That'll be starting. And then once you start eating that way, if you see your body composition going the right way, then you're onto the right ratios. If you are under eating, you feel tired, fatigued, cold, hungry all the time, then eat more. And if you're eating that amount and your body composition is making you feel like a little bit bigger, then eat less. And then you can start moving around more fat, less fat, that sort of thing as well.
Nice. Mr. Beaumont, thank you for the super chat. Very comprehensive answer on fasting windows. Stephen, thank you. You should go on the Beeb or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And from Nicholas, sprays are perhaps a good way to also get sulfur. Thoughts on sulfur requirements and if dermal absorption, like a bath, is better?
Right. Well, Nicholas is a big supporter, actually. So, I don't know about the sprays, to be honest, for sulfur. I've never really looked into it, to be absolutely frank. So, I can't really give you a good answer, Nicholas, but I will look into it for you because I know you're in school, and I will give you a proper answer in there. Right now, I mean, it is essential. I mean, we do need sulfur. I've got a sulfur spray thing up on the screen. Let's just have a look. So yeah, sulfur sprays. It's actually in the advertising, it says aren't your best bet for getting adequate sulfur, and that's from a company that's actually selling it. So I think that's really good. I think that's really good. So yeah. They won't do much business, will they? So, yeah, I think you're just probably better to. They're actually not helping me very much because they don't seem to like their own product. But yeah, I will have to look that up. I don't really know. I don't want to waffle on that.
Thanks, Nicholas. From Goretta, is the protein pounds of body weight based on raw meat or cooked?
Raw.
Cool bananas.
Yeah. We ran out of time to answer all the questions last time I was on, so I'm trying to be brief.
Oh. Okay. So, Urja, I have fibroids of 4 centimeters with heavy bleeding and pain. Please suggest something about diet. Are you currently carnivore, Urja?
Yeah, we'd need a little bit more. Could we have a little bit more information of like what you're currently eating, and has that situation been around a long time? Has it got? Is that smaller than they were? So I think we just need a little bit more in the chat, and then we'll do it.
Okay.
I'll make a note to come back to
that. Okay, from Steve Foster. After 3.5 years carnivore, would I expect to get a detectable level of ketones in urine?
Urine's a bad marker because that's the thing that the body has decided it doesn't need. And if you're utilizing your ketones, then there won't be a very good reading in the urine, but you might have a lot of ketones. So this is why ketone strips, the Keto Mojo doing the blood testing is slightly better than urine, but it can be misleading because you're very fat adapted. Your ketone level can be quite low. When I say low, I mean, it can be 0.2, 0.3 on the Keto Mojo. So it's so hard because blood test, urine testing isn't what actually being utilised in the tissues. It's a good gauge. I would definitely go for blood testing. Urine is the least reliable.
How about breath?
Well, again, that's unwanted ketones that we're wasting away.
Right.
So I think I'm not a fan of chasing numbers on ketones anyway, because you've only got to look at someone like Richard Smith, think, well, he's doing very well, looks great, he's very athletic, and his ketones are incredibly low. So,
I stopped measuring it after the first time I did Atkins because I got obsessed with it and depressed because my numbers would go down, because like you
yes.
say, you're always chasing a good number.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I feel a bit negative because when you start, that's what people do. They get the urine strip, see if it goes purple. Oh, I've got ketones. That's great. And it can be initially quite quite encouraging to see the ketones, but then as you get more fat adapted, more keto adapted, those numbers can go down, and then you get demoralized, even though you actually look better and you feel better.
Okay, we just had a big question. Seedman, have you seen Dr. Tony Hampton's video called The A1C Paradox, where he presents some maths converting carnivore A1C results to represent what is really going on with carnivore blood sugars?
No,
I didn't see.
but
Me neither.
I talk about that all the time. The fact is, I mean, the most basic thing is that the A1C is a calculation, and it's totally unreliable because the calculation is flawed. It uses a constant number in there to give you your number, and that constant is a variable. So a basic level of mathematics, it doesn't work. Now, what used to be all right many years ago, when everyone ate a lot of carbs and no one was that nuanced, they got away with this number as it had been a reasonably good indicator. But 6 years ago, when I started at MeatRx under Sean Baker's community and running their daily meetings and doing their weekly diabetes meeting, we were finding that people with their continual glucose monitors were constantly scratching their head saying, look at the average of my A1C. It doesn't match what's happening on my CGM, because your CGM is actually measuring your daily blood glucose, minute by minute on a flux basis, and giving you an actual average based on what's happening, which, although it's not really in your blood, actually, it's the interstitial tissue, and it is calibrated to reflect what's in the blood, if the people want to pick up on the nuance. But it didn't match. Their average was always lower on the CGM than the HbA1c, hemoglobin adult 1c, of the red blood cell. So I've got a little prop here, and maybe Tony's seen my videos, but whenever a red blood cell, and I've got a red blood cell here, which is glycated, just to indicate what a glycated red blood cell might look like, we make 2.5 million red blood cells every single second. 2.5 million we make every single second. We recycle 2.5 million every single second. And inside every red blood cell is approximately 284 million hemoglobins, proteins, macromolecules. So basically what happens, this is going to represent something in a second, and it will make sense. And just to tell you about the maths of this, you can also do other tests, by the way. Fructosamine test is much better because it looks at a 3-week average. But let's talk about this. So he might be leaning on what I tell people, and I've been doing this demonstration ever such a lot. So if we understand how we collect the reading, how do we get the HbA1c? Well, the red blood cell goes into a chamber, a high pressure liquid chromatography chamber, and it, depending on how much of the hemoglobin is glycated, it will stop in that chamber at a certain point, and they will get a reading. All right. So what this is representing is every single red splodge is 10 hemoglobins that have been glycated. So if we imagine that every single day, 1 hemoglobin was glycated, so after 10 days, one of these would be on here. By the end of the alleged constant lifespan of the red blood cell, you would have that. You would have 12 of these, 120 hemoglobins have been glycated. So that would go down there, and they would read it off. The machine would give the reading of every red blood cell. The mean is 120. And then they would divide it by the theoretical life of the red blood cell, which they think is a constant, divide it by 120 and you get a number of 1. That's the first thing. Right, now, where it's wrong, and I've known this for 16 years when I used to do phlebotomy, is you can have an artificially low reading. Now, this is the red blood cell of someone with hemolytic anemia. That means the red blood cells last about half the time as expected. Now, because the high pressure liquid chromatography machine does not look at the red blood cell lifespan, this is a hemolytic anemic person. Their red blood cell goes to the bottom of the chamber because it's not much charge, and it gets a reading of 60. If you divide 60 by 120, you get 0.5. So all of a sudden, this person's HbA1c is 0.5. But the glycation rate is exactly the same. It's still 1 hemoglobin per day. The problem is it's only been in the system for 60 days, and therefore you get the number 60. So I was always told this: if you have an artificially low, or if you see a patient and you think that they are diabetic because you've looked at their fasted blood glucose, their fasted insulin, their C-peptide, we ignore the HbA1c. Labs know this. They're working on what's called an HbA1c, which adjusts for the lifespan of the red blood cell. And this will definitely be a game changer because people won't be able to talk about the A1c again in any way other than the way I'm talking about it. So why does that affect carnivore? So if you imagine with carnivore, what happens is your red blood cells last longer. So this would be even more glycated. So let's say it lives 150 days. You would have 15 of these on here. That would go into the chamber, stick at the top because the charge is really high, and you would get a number which would be 150. And if you divide that by 120 days, this theoretical constant, you would get a reading of 1.25. So all of a sudden, even though the glycation rate is exactly the same, you've got a higher number. So the HbA1c is totally irrelevant if you don't factor in the life of the red blood cells. So I'm sure that's what maybe Tony is talking about. It's a totally unreliable marker. If you don't factor in the red blood cell life, you can prove this with a reticulocyte count, which is the immature red blood cells. If you have more immature red blood cells, it means your body's picked up that you need more red blood cell production. And what we see with carnivores time after time is the reticulocyte count drops because the red blood cells are living longer. And it isn't glycation that makes the red blood cell viable or not viable. It's the membrane, actually. So there's proteins and there are also lipids in the membrane, and the membrane has to be squidgy, it has to deform. So the sinusoidal space of the spleen will allow the red blood cell in as it's circulating, it constantly being checked. Are you deformable? Are you, the right size? That sort of thing, basically. And if it isn't, it gets kicked out. It's not the glycation that doesn't really affect it of the hemoglobin. It's actually the glycation of the proteins in the membrane. So you've got this thing called glycophorin A, which is a thing that sticks out of the red blood cell. So let's pretend that we've got a red blood cell here, and we have proteins. We have glycoproteins sticking out. Sialic acid is on there. It's like a sugar on there. And this creates a negative charge. And if you've got, let's do this. I've never done this before, but let's just say we've got another red blood cell in the vicinity. The negative charge repels them. It stops the red blood cells from clumping. Right, so this is really important. But these can get glycated. They can dysregulate that and cause a huge problem. And the glycation process will make the membrane not flexible enough, and it won't be able to deform, and the spleen will chuck it out. And that is really critical to understand as well, because when we're measuring the HbA1c, that's a proxy marker for glycation across the entire body of all proteins. So something like albumin, and you can actually get a glycated albumin test, that's the main transport protein in your body. If that's dysregulated, its affinity to carry the things it's supposed to carry, which can be things like cortisol, for instance, or other molecules it needs to carry, that's compromised. So you start getting this dysregulated reading of everything if you're having a lot of carbohydrates, because you're putting the glycation up. So when you do this, it has other knock-on effects, because when you do your daily blood glucose reading, that's only unbound glucose, but what you're seeing is more and more glycation. You're getting glycation of collagen, which is why when you eat lots of carbs, you start looking older quicker. So you can do, other tests. You can do the 15-AG, which is the test that looks at glucose that's dehydrated. The body actually dehydrates glucose in some areas, and you can measure that. You can get much better readings from fructosamine, the 15-AG, glycated albumin. These are all much better markers, but we don't do it. And it's really frustrating. The A1C is not the thing we should be looking at. It's totally irrelevant, absolutely totally irrelevant. But I will check that out. I will make a note to do that. And I'm glad that Tony Hampton and other people with bigger followings than me hopefully are saying the same things.
Thank you very much, Seedman. Got a question here for you, Stephen, from Frank. Coach Stephen, what's your thoughts? I'm 92 kilograms, a 66-year-old male, have 50% coronary stenosis, CAC 372 with no other health problems, and LDL sky high, told to take atorvastatin 80 milligrams and ezetrol 10 milligrams, carnivore 2 years.
Right. Well, we're not doctors. It's not medical advice, so I can't tell you to take or not take any prescription medications. I can give you facts about things. So I don't know how tall you are. 92 kilograms at 66 male. If you're 6 foot plus, that's probably not too bad. If you're, my height, I'm 5'10". I would think 92 kilograms might be a little bit on the plus side, but you could be very heavily muscled. I don't know. So there's not really enough information there. My CAC was 639 when I was high carb, which is over 10 years ago. So, if you've got a CAC score of 372, that does show some plaque. But what are you going to do about it? I mean, the thing is, many people try to slow the progression. If you're my age, I'm 61, you're 66. So the progression on a yearly basis is around 25%. So allegedly mine will be 3,000 now after I had it measured at age 50. But if I did get it measured and it was, 900, let's say, although it's increased, I would still think, well, I've definitely slowed the progression compared to an average person eating this way. What do you call sky high when it comes to LDL? I mean, that I don't know, because LDL firstly is calculated, it's not directly measured. So that's a big problem with LDL. Second, the BMJ study, 2016, 19, it was a meta-analysis, 19 studies, 16 of those all seem to indicate that people with higher LDL lived longer. That can be looked up, 2016 BMJ. The Inter-Heart study looked at 52 different countries, patients being admitted for heart attacks. Over 72% of the people with heart attacks admitted to hospital over all these different countries had 130 milligrams per deciliter or lower LDL. So that tends to be within where people want to statinate you. So that is particularly good. There is another study, I think it was 100,000 participants, exactly the same thing, where the conclusion was that you'd live longer with higher LDL. So all of those things can be looked up. I've got a book on Amazon called Statins, The Truth They Tried to Bury, which is designed to be really easily read. And you could get all the information. It's all linked. There's all, there's all the studies there. It's all in black and white. And other things are better markers. High density lipoprotein is a better marker. The high density lipoprotein, HDL, and triglyceride ratio seems to be a better marker of overall heart health. But I can't tell you to take or not take things, because that's not what we do. But I'll definitely ask you to go and look at the information. Look up things like the number needed to treat. For those people that don't know, that means any drug that you take will have what's called a number needed to treat. Most statins are in quite high numbers, between 80 to 200. That means that when the doctor prescribes the statin, it's likely that he has to give it to 80 people before one person gets a benefit, which means 79 people are not expected to get a benefit. And obviously, when the number's in the 200s, that's even worse. And then look at the number needed to harm. which is with statins off the top of my head, something like 25 to 30 in one. Again, you can look this up. You can actually just look up what is the number needed to harm for the statins you've been prescribed, and you can make your own decisions then.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, Frank. Okay, Mr. Beaumont, domestic goddess question. If you're keeping excess bacon fat in a tub for later use, would the little dregs of bacon in it not go rancid if it's out of the fridge? Oh,
it's a double negative there. Did you want to add something there, Dave?
No, I mean, for me, I wouldn't have a clue. I would be worried about it, but I like, just because I don't, I normally, if it's out of a bottle or it's out of a tub or something, it's just I use it and put it straight back in the fridge. So not thinking about anything like that.
Yeah, I would definitely keep. Well, firstly, I would get rid of the dregs of bacon if you can. Secondly, I'll keep it in the fridge. We do that.
Yeah. I think as a good rule of thumb in life, anything you can describe as dregs is probably not good to keep around.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. So question about the fibroids from Uruja. Okay. So it's kind of multi-part here. I've started Lion 1 week before. Okay. So you've been Lion for 1 week, and will it help me shrink the fibroids?
Oh, yeah, that's really difficult. It's more likely to make a meaningful reduction in any symptoms. And actually what we just said about slowing growth, because it's very unlikely they'll shrink, but you don't want them to increase. A bit like we just said about the coronary artery calcium scan. This way of eating, in my opinion, with that, say, for instance, we've got more data on, we see people still have a little bit of progression, then the progression slows, then it stops, and then it starts to reverse. With fibroids, which I haven't dealt with as much as people with a CAC score, obviously I tracked people because I talk about my coronary artery calcium scan. What you tend to find is this way of eating firstly reduces the symptoms, but in a really big way, and it slows the growth. So when people go back and have them checked, it's like, the consultant will say, wow, you're doing really well. Well, we normally see XYZ growth, and you haven't done that. And what's happening is, you're reducing the estrogen load. I mean, that's the main thing that's happening with this way of eating. If you eat clean, if you keep away from things that aren't diet related, like plastic, drinking water from plastic bottles, and keeping away from anything that's estrogenic, keeping away from plants, obviously. I mean, plants, one of their anti-nutrients is estrogen. The plant will make the insect that's killing the plant infertile. So that would be a really good thing. And because you're in a more anti-inflammatory state, a low inflammatory state, that will help with the symptoms. You could look at the fact, and we spoke about it earlier, because magnesium eases muscle cramps, you possibly will get more magnesium in the diet because you're eating whole foods. Zinc and vitamin D, that tends to help as well. Obviously, just keep away from the carbs. If you're going Lion, you're definitely doing that. I mean, going Lion will make a big, big difference.
Uria, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. If you send me an email, realzerocarb@gmail.com, I do have a couple of interviews I could show you with people who have got fibroids that have been doing carnivore, if that helps as well. So I can shoot those through to you. So just realzerocarb@gmail.com, and I'll find them for you.
I mean, you could also be more, with these questions, it's not a criticism. Is that a submucosal fibroid? I mean, that's the thing, which is like where it's growing in the uterine cavity. So the more detail people give in questions, the better, actually. But this way of eating, definitely, I've seen people get a lot of resolution from. So yeah, and obviously you're seeing it as well, Dave, because you've had people interviewed.
So from John, what do you mean by cup of coffee? I have espresso. They are, as you know, small cups, but much stronger.
Yes. Espresso is, not diluted with cream and milk. It is a small cup, but the hit of coffee or caffeine is the same, isn't it? Because all an espresso is the bit that they put into a bigger cup and then fluff up more, milk on top.
It's the same hit of caffeine, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? If you've got any questions, guys, or anything you'd like us to discuss, please put a Q in front of it, and that'll help me find it. My eyesight's not so great in the evening when I've got a white light shining in my eyes.
What is the time there where you are?
It's 8:15. Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this Tony Hampton video, actually.
I'm
going to look it up while you're looking it up.
Mr. Beaumont, regarding the LDL levels conversation, is it broadly, wrongly, supposed to predict eventual atherosclerotic lesions? If so, why don't people just get a CAC CT scan rather than speculate?
Because there's big money in statins.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in speculating, because when you make people scared, they'll pay for anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And a CAC, a CAC and CT scan is much, much better. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But I think the gentleman had a CAC of 363 or something, so there was existing plaque. But yes, I would go with that every single 2-3 years.
So for you, would you say a CAC or a CT is kind of the better yardstick or indicator? Because like the CT, you can see like exactly where it is, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I've just looked up that Tony Hampton thing, and the title of it is The A1C Paradox, Correcting A1C for Red Blood Cell Lifespan. There you go. So, yeah. Going back to this question, there is no science that shows that low density lipoproteins is correlated with atherosclerotic lesions. None at all. In fact, if you look at this really weird sort of circular thing that's happened in 1913, the first buds of this theory were obtained by feeding a rabbit cholesterol dissolved in seed oils, right? Right. So that's how it all started, feeding cholesterol dissolved in seed oils to a rabbit. Now, that actually has been replicated, and cleverly, the researchers fed some rabbits cholesterol dissolved in seed oil and some just cholesterol without the seed oil. And the ones without the seed oil had the LDL injected into them, the LDL, not just cholesterol, and they didn't develop any plaques. But the ones with seed oils did. So that's quite interesting, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
But nothing beats an image, does it? Nothing beats an image. Well, in fact, nothing beats constantly monitoring if you want to know what's actually going on. So I think if you get more than one image, you'll then know the rate of progression. So 3 images over 3 years would actually give you a good idea.
Right. Yeah. So FX Trader, I think that was the right question. Sorry. Maybe. Oh, no, I haven't skipped one. FX Trader, is a carnivore diet better than keto, or is it more subjective and it depends on each individual?
Well, no, it's objective. Carnivore is better than keto. Right, let's give you a bit more detail.
I was waiting for the because.
Right. If Right. Let's just change the subject for a second. When I used to do advanced personal training, people would say to me, "What's the best time to train?" Now, you can have millions of studies that tell you the best time to train, but my answer would always be the same: when you can train, right? Because it's no good me saying, right, you need. I mean, this morning I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the gym as soon as it opened. But some people can't do that. Some people got family that would impede on. So it's always what you can do. So if you try carnivore and you can't do it because of social pressure, because you don't enjoy it, well, keto is going to be better than the standard Western diet, standard American diet, vegan, vegetarian, because you're still getting the animal proteins, which are much more bioavailable than plant proteins. They don't have the anti-nutrients in. So it is individual in that case. But you could also be objective and say, what's better for health? Well, carnivore is better for health because it doesn't have all the anti-nutrients. It's not very inflammatory. You get every single amino acid that you need. You get all the fatty acids that you need, and it's nutrient dense. It makes you full. Your satiety signals are better. Your hunger signals are better, right? But many people can't be strict carnivore. They just don't enjoy it. They can't adapt. So what we've actually done is, it's not about adapting to carnivore. We've adapted to the wrong way of eating. Eating carnivore is going back to how we used to eat, or as close as we possibly can. But many people can't do that in this day and age. So the answer is, subjectively, from your life, the best thing you can do is be as close to carnivore as possible.
Yeah, I think certainly for me, keto worked for me in the past, but it doesn't work for me long term, because once having any level of carbohydrate in my diet just pushes me to eventually fall off,
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you've got, anyway, let's go on to the next question.
From Dustin. Hey, how you doing, Dustin? When do you think we'll know more about CAC people can have low scores of 10 all the way into the 5 and 6K scores, but we don't know how much worse they are or how the risk percentage grows?
I don't really understand that question very much.
He's just asking about, do we know if the risk percentage is growing?
Well, people have 0 scores. My wife had a 0 score. What did she do all her life? Avoided bread and potatoes. That was it. She didn't know she was keto. She didn't know she was doing that. So when we first met and we went out for breakfast, I couldn't believe how much she was eating. And it was egg and bacon and sausage. It was like, wow. And I remember saying to her, wow, you eat all that and you look that way. She said, oh, I've always eaten like this. Didn't have any toast. Didn't have any of that. Didn't have any hash browns. And she looks amazing. So when we did the CAC score together, because that's how romantic I am. Come on, darling, let's go and do a CAC score. Mine was 639. And I'd allegedly lived, the food guidelines. I was like the poster boy for them. Didn't smoke, didn't drink, didn't have red meat, skim milk, porridge oats, whole grain toast, all that stuff. And 639. And here's Jane, who's nothing to do with health at all at that point. A big fat 0. Well, looking at that answer, we don't have enough data, do we? Across the board, we need to do, someone like Ivor Cummins probably does have a fair bit of data because he really promoted the CAC as one of the things to do. But I don't think it's, you can't extrapolate it to populations yet because I just don't think the numbers are there. But
one of the things that scared me a little bit about the CAC was when I heard one of my guests, she had a CAC score of, I don't know what it was, 300. And she then, a few months later, but I think her cardiologist was giving her a hard time. And she said, okay, well, let's find out exactly what's going on. Do a CT angiogram. They did a CT angiogram, and the calcification was, I may get the terminology incorrect, but the calcification was not obstructing anything. It was within the lumen or something, or outside the lumen,
Yeah.
or right. So actually, she didn't have a problem. So for months, the cardiologist had been giving her a hard time about statins and all the rest of it, and it wasn't quite as serious as she'd been led to believe, because the flow wasn't obstructed.
Yes. Well, that's a thing. I mean, I look at my score as nature's stent. I've got calcium in there because for some reason my coronary arteries were damaged in some way, and my body repaired it by putting some calcium in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's basically it, I think.
Right. Okay. So from John, my wife is 65 years, 2 years carnivore. She has occasional overheating issues, dripping with sweat, thyroid tested and okay. Any ideas?
Well, yeah, see, this is where bloods actually can be misleading, because what panel did the thyroid testing take? Was it the full panel? Was it TSH? Was it bound T4 and free T4? Bound T3 and unbound T3, reverse T3, was that measured? Both TPO and TG antibodies. So I'd like to see all that. And very rarely people do have those tests. Some people will just have TSH measured, thyroid stimulating hormone, which isn't even a thyroid hormone, it's a pituitary gland one. And because that's okay, doctors will say thyroid's okay. Well, that's not a good way of measuring the thyroid if you're looking at labs, because you need all those other numbers to be able to work out what is the production of T4 and what is the production of T3. And then we don't know about the conversion of T4 to T3. So the metabolic rate is the normal driver of heat, and the metabolic mastermind is normally the thyroid. So I would firstly get the full thyroid panel before ruling out the thyroid.
Yeah.
Could be other things. It could be, fluid balance, electrolytes, but let's, double check that that's a full panel that's been done, including reverse T3 and the antibodies, and both types of T3, bound and unbound, and free T4 and bound T4 as well.
Just quick, good morning, Rick. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Mr. Beaumont's asking regarding the lady that I spoke about before. Even if the flow of that woman's heart obstructed, like you say, Dave, couldn't the whole heart muscles function be hindered still with regards to that previous anecdote? It was unobstructed, but I think, yeah, I mean, because I put the information into ChatGPT afterwards, and ChatGPT was telling me that it's still a significant problem and still a significant risk, but yeah, not as much as she'd been led to believe, because they believed the flow was obstructed. Yeah. So nothing more. Oh, so I meant to ask you something there, Coach Stephen, when you said, you're really exciting. You took your wife on a date to do a CAC. Was it a choice between bowling and a CAC, or something? She went, I'll do the CAC. That's
I think. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, she just got interested in health, because once you start talking about health, people are interested.
Yeah. I think the more you actually understand the stuff as well, the more interesting it is, like if you're just doing an annual physical every year to satisfy your job or something like that, and your numbers kind of get sent to you and then you just pass them on to the HR department or whatever it is, like you don't pay that much attention. But once you actually understand what all those numbers mean, and you can look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, well, my score's all right then. That's it's very interesting. Yeah. So we're at the 1 hour mark. So guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening or this morning, depending on where you are in the world, or this lunchtime.
Yep.
And yeah, thank you for your questions. Really appreciate it. And we'll do another one of these very soon.
2
Thank
weeks'
you.
time.
Yeah, thank you very
Yeah.
much, guys. Cheers.
Bye.